Okay, number one, given this, and P, it's an infinite, and it's nested, it looks really awful, right? And then they go and say if P equals A to the E over B for positive integers A and B, what is A plus B? It almost looks impossible. Let me just go to the whiteboard, though, and try to think about it. And this is problem number one. And the first thing I'm going to do is, certainly I'm not going to write P over again. I'm looking at it in the piece of paper at this point, and I'm realizing, if I were to write down like P1, I want to kind of write the sequence again to get a feel for it. And P1 is just the number 2. And what's P2 going to be? P2, if I thought about it, I'm just going in, one at a time. It's going to be 2, and I'm going to use exponents now. So it's really the square root of 2, which is just 1/2. Now, if I went to P3, I still get the 2. I still get 2 to the 1/2. But I'm going in another one, and that's going to be, square root of a cube root, which is 6th root. So I'll write this over here, 2 to the 1/6. Right now, but I'm not saying I see a pattern yet, but I'm going to keep going. P4. And I'm going to say 2 to the 1/2, 2 to the 1/6. And I want to point out, the next thing I'm really seeing a half times a third times a quarter. And that's going to be 24. All right? And now I'm starting to think I see a pattern. And this is what helped me see the pattern over here. These look like factorials. So I'm going to write down Pn is going to be 2. I'm going to put it as, 1 times 2 to the 1/2 times 2 to the 1, that's a 4, by the way. I'm sorry, it's a 6. Penmanship's bad. Times 2 to the 1 over 24. And then if I keep going here, and someone says, could you do the next one? Yeah, the next one, if I thought about it, would be 5 times 24. I'm not going to write that down, by the way. But you keep going and going and going and going. And where are you going to go up to? Again, I want to point out there's a relationship I'm looking at. And I want to point out the relationship I'm seeing over here. That 2, 3, 6, 4, 24, n. I want to start thinking what those numbers mean to me. And they certainly remind me of factorials. So for example, 2 factorial is 2, 3 factorial is 6, 4 factorial is 24. So this one appears to be going to 2 to 1 over n factorial. Right, so I'm going to start to say Pn is equal to, let's write this down, 2. I'm going to start adding the exponents together. And what do you get? 1 plus 1 over 2 factorial plus 1 over 3 factorial plus 1 over 4 factorial plus yada, 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 up to 1 over n factorial. All right, so I got something for that. And I'm starting to recognize I've seen that before. And someone said, where'd you see that before? That's just sort of like E almost. And I'll write this over here. So I'm going to say, if I went to P infinity, which is really what I'm trying to do over here, this sort of reminds me of E, but not exactly. So, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And I have to go backwards on that. There's a power. So I'm going to say 1 plus 1 over 2 factorial plus 1 over 3 factorial plus 1 over 4 factorial plus, and this goes on forever, by the way, and those factorials go on forever. So, I mean, it's crazy it goes on forever, but it goes on forever. But I want to write down, I know what E looks like, E to the first power. What does it look like? 1 plus 1 plus 1 over 2 factorial. By the way, maybe I should write it down in a slightly different way, the one that most people remember it by. So I'm going to say, 1 over 0 factorial plus 1 over 1 factorial plus 1 over 2 factorial plus 1 over 3 factorial plus yada, yada, yada. I think you get the idea, all right? So P infinity is actually our P, by the way, right? So what do I notice about this guy over here? Looking at it, by the way, again, this is 1 plus 1 plus 1 over 2 factorial plus 1 over 3 factorial plus yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to say E minus 1. So I'm taking this term from both sides. What would I get? I would get 1 plus 1 over 2 factorial plus 1 over 3 factorial, plus yada, yada, yada. So I'm starting to realize that this guy over here actually is just going to be 2, and let's be careful about that. It's going to be e to the minus 1, all right? I'm sorry, it's going to be 2 to the exponent e minus 1, all right? So I'm going to say, I don't remember their question at this point. I go back and read it again, and they said, oh, p is equal to a to the e over b. Well, what did I find? I found it's actually 2 to the e minus 1. What's that going to be? 2 to the e, right? Over what? 2 to the 1. So I think I know what a and b is now. What's a and b? A equals b, and they both equal 2. All right, just looking at that. So what do I get over here? The question is, what's a plus b? Well, if a equals 2 and b equals 2, a plus b is equal to 4. Kind of a tricky question, but we're done with it. Thank you.